What if the characteristic that once rendered you vulnerable could transform into your most significant asset? What if your capacity for understanding others, what once served as sustenance for narcissists, may transform into the very armor that protects you from their influence? Carl Jung uncovered insights of such depth and significance that, upon grasping them, individuals ensnared by narcissists will not only find themselves liberated, but will also become imperceptible to the very narcissists who once held sway over them. Not due to your concealment, but rather because you have manifested such authenticity that there remains no substance for manipulation to cling to. Empaths possess a profound strength. They possess a certain level of discernment. They're not defective. They are formidable beings who have lost sight of their inherent power. As an empath, you have acquiesced when your inner self was vehemently opposing. You have internalized the tumult of those around you and deemed it empathy. Perhaps, buried within, you began to perceive your sensitivity as a deficiency, an aspect of your nature that rendered you susceptible to fracture, readily exploitable, and ultimately abandonable. However, what Carl Jung disclosed is as follows. Your sensitivity is not the issue at hand. Your separation from your shadow is. One must understand that the shadow is not inherently malevolent. It is not an entity that warrants apprehension. It encompasses the aspects of your being that were never permitted to flourish. Your indignation, your strength, your expression, your revered limits. When you conceal those aspects to maintain your appeal, manipulators inevitably exploit the opportunity. The narcissist lacks genuine affection for you. They fail to recognize your presence. They perceive a reflection, an origin, a reservoir. However, upon embarking on the journey to integrate your shadow, as you reclaim the aspects of your being that societal norms have conditioned you to suppress, a profound transformation occurs. The empathy that previously left you feeling depleted now transforms into a conscious, deliberate, and well-defined presence. The compassion that previously guided you into codependency now manifests with clarity and insight. The heart that previously shattered beneath the burden of collective anguish now remains resilient, grounded and complete. Carl Jung articulated that until we bring the unconscious into the realm of consciousness, it will govern our lives, and we shall attribute this influence to fate. That is the reason you continue to draw them in. It was not a manifestation of frailty. It was an involuntary recurrence. Your inherent strength radiates towards those who would exploit it. The essence of the narcissist reveals a lack of true power. They are deeply estranged from their true essence. What may appear as confidence frequently reveals itself to be grandiosity. What seems to be control is fundamentally anchored in a sense of shame. Their allure, their magnetism, their desire to assert control is a protective shield, a facade crafted in the formative years to navigate a reality that instilled the notion that openness was perilous. Jung referred to this phenomenon as inflation. When an individual becomes so enmeshed in their constructed identity that they completely disconnect from their authentic self. This is the point at which the empath and the narcissist reflect one another. Each sustains injuries. Both entities exhibit a lack of connection. One expands, while the other fades away. However, as the narcissist constructs a barrier to protect their own vulnerabilities, the empath endeavors to mend the wounds of those around them. In this process, they completely lose sight of their own identities. However, this marks the pivotal moment. Jung referred to it as enantadroia, the instant at which one entity transforms into its antithesis. For the empath, this moment is significant. Upon the recognition that you bear no obligation for the emotional states of others, neither their joy, nor their recovery, nor their sense of void, one must take accountability for oneself. It is precisely at that juncture that your influence commences. Once you cease to bear the weight of guilt that does not belong to you, the narcissist's power diminishes. When you cease to recoil from disapproval, the hold of manipulation diminishes. When you cease to provide explanations, justifications, and excessive concessions, you render yourself psychologically imperceptible to them. Your vulnerabilities remain elusive to them, as you have ceased to delegate your sense of self-value. They are unable to evoke your sense of guilt, as you have transcended the conflation of kindness with self-betrayal. They are unable to overwhelm you with affection, manipulate your emotions, or distort your reality, as you have ceased to pursue affirmation from flawed reflections. This is not a matter of adopting a frigid demeanor. It pertains to the process of attaining authenticity. Jung articulated, the objective of existence is the process of individuation, to realize your authentic self, not the person others desire you to become. It is not the identity shaped by trauma that defines you, but rather your wholly integrated self. Illumination and obscurity, resilience and gentleness, limits and compassion, all in a state of equilibrium. Upon attaining this state, one not only safeguards oneself, but also catalyzes a transformation in the surrounding environment. Individuals who have successfully integrated their shadow do not merely achieve immunity to narcissistic influences. They transform into beacons, steadfast, radiant. They do not pursue love. Rather, they personify it. They do not endeavor to rescue all individuals. They uphold the profound duty of ensuring their own salvation. Jung posited that when anger is properly integrated, it serves to safeguard one's boundaries. The possession of such power renders one impervious to disturbance. To assert that declining is not synonymous with rejection. It represents lucidity. It is a verity. As you progress in your development, you will start to observe something peculiar. Narcissists may still make an appearance, yet they will not linger, as they no longer perceive you as a source of sustenance. You exhibit a remarkable level of composure. You possess resilience. One must refrain from engaging in emotional labor that detracts from the essence of existence. They will seek out the former iteration of yourself, the individual who experienced remorse for their fatigue, the individual who expressed regret for declining, the individual who designated self-sacrifice as love. However, that iteration has vanished, interconnected, advanced. This represents the phenomenon to which Jung alluded, the concept of psychological sovereignty, the capacity to experience a wide array of emotions while remaining ungoverned by any of them, to engage in profound affection while ensuring you remain true to yourself henceforth, to embrace openness while maintaining a sense of protection, gentle yet resilient, to traverse the world in your authentic self, unencumbered and complete. The enlightened empath has transcended the fear of narcissists, for there exists nothing within them to exploit. There exists no fractured conviction to manipulate. There exists no unaddressed injury to dominate. What was once perceived as a burden has now transformed into your guiding principle. What once shattered your spirit now fortifies your essence. What was once a magnet for chaos has now become a beacon of tranquility. You have transformed into what Jung referred to as a wounded healer, an individual who has transformed suffering into insight, one who possesses empathy alongside lucidity, who comprehends the intricacies of emotion yet remains unburdened by its weight. This represents the transition from unrecognized distress to deliberate liberation, from empathetic involvement to genuine manifestation, transitioning from a state of vulnerability to one of invulnerability, not due to a cessation of emotion, but rather as a result of deliberate selection. Thus, if you have ever contemplated the reasons behind your profound emotions, the attempts of the world to overshadow your brilliance, or the manner in which individuals have extracted fragments of your essence without reciprocation, understand this. Your capacity for empathy should not be perceived as a flaw. This is your inherent talent. Your potential is immense. This is your journey. However, this is contingent upon its reclamation. It is only when it is delineated. It is only when it is aware. This marks the commencement of your enlightenment. This constitutes your return, not to the person you once were, but to the essence of your true self. Upon achieving that transformation of self, the narcissist will not merely relinquish control. They will vanish completely, not due to the barriers you erected, but rather because you embraced authenticity. I appreciate your companionship on this journey. Should you feel a stirring within, a truth emerging, or a burden alleviated, it is no mere coincidence. It serves as an indication, a communication from your innermost being, reminding you that you were never fractured, merely concealed. The world instructed you to diminish, to conform, to remain inconspicuous. Yet your essence was destined to ascend. Therefore, ascend and take back the aspects of yourself that others have urged you to dread. Allow your empathy to shine with intensity, yet temper it with restraint. Allow your heart to remain receptive, yet ensure it is never again unprotected. One need not adopt a hardened exterior to embody true strength. One need not cease to love in order to safeguard oneself. One must strive for completeness. If this message resonated with your inner being, consider sharing it. With each emergence of an empath, the collective shadow experiences a gradual healing process. Engage with the profound depths of the mind. Until we meet again, tread softly, embrace your emotions profoundly, and maintain your autonomy. Your illumination, when embraced in its entirety, is the singular force that darkness can never overcome.